and ended up in real estate. And real estate was great. I did wonderful. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But I did it back in the days, before we had all the technology we have today. So, there weren't even answering machines. There was no cell phones. There were no computers. So everything was hands-on. And after 9 years, and I mean, the day I finally walked out and quit, I had 14 listings alone, let alone all the sales, and it just wore me down. I was the only one that did everything. I was back then in an office. There were other people, but we all did all the work. There was no team. Everybody was a competitor with the other person in the office.
Mm.
And so I moved across country from California to Georgia, and I just could not make myself go back into real estate. I would have had to get relicensed here, and just the stress. I had two small children when I started, and you were just constantly on call. It was like being a doctor on call 24/7. And it just, you never had your weekends. You felt guilty taking a vacation. And so when I got to Atlanta, I was introduced to a woman that was in network marketing. And it was skincare, makeup, it was beauty control, which is kind of a competitor to Mary Kay, if you know what that is over there in your countries. And um, I loved the concept, but I couldn't make enough money, even though the first year I earned a mink coat. I was number 7 out of 25,000. I still, um, I couldn't make the money. You sell a tube of lipstick and, you'd make 50 cents or some crazy thing. And I had to deliver everything and nothing was drop shipped. It was only on my credit card, which back then I didn't even have one. I had to wire money, and it was so confusing. It was so difficult. But I loved having a team. I loved not having to do everything myself like I did in real estate. So then I joined another company, and they changed the comp plan and it went under. I joined another company. They changed the product and it went under. And I was like, I started reading everything I could get my hands on. And you know what, back then, that was 27 years ago when I started in network marketing, there wasn't hardly anything literature wise. There was no computer back then. So the thing is that all I could do was listen to a few audio tapes and books, but just that concept of not always being about me and being able to multiply my work ethic times other people and their work ethic, boy, I love that. And so I had some people from my previous company I was with who had tried the Nikon products when it came to Atlanta, and they had great results, and they ended up leaving that company. And for 8 months they kept coming after me. They wanted me on their team. We all, when you're successful in any company, other people, they come after you. They want you on their team. They want you to leave. And I kept saying, no, 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 no. Well, then one day I didn't get my $6,000 paycheck from that company. And 30 years ago, that's still great money, but that was really great money then.
Yep.
And I needed that money. I needed every penny of that money. I'd gone through a hard time, and he didn't pay me. So I ended up coming over to Nikon, and 2 weeks later that company went under.
Oh.
So yeah, and so I signed up, but the only reason I signed up is I was moving and packing boxes, and I was born with a back issue, and so I was having to lift and do everything, and that my back just doesn't like to do that. And I was hurting so bad one night. I called one of those four people that had been after me for 8 months, and I said, George, does that product really work? And you know what? This was 23, almost 24 years ago that I first heard about it. And back then they only had 10 products. They only had magnets. They had very little, but they had a back magnet. We now call it a flex, a mag flex. And he said, I'm having really great results with people. And I said, would you come over and bring that and see if it'll help me? I'm hurting so bad I can hardly move. He brought it over instantly. Everything it just calmed. And I went, wow. And you know what? Before that, for those first 8 months, I wouldn't even try the product. I was so focused on my other company. I guess the lesson I would like to give people that are listening to this, I would love to go back to the thousands of people that I have prospected once and never went back again.
Mm.
If the timing wasn't right for them and I just walked away and kind of let them fall through the cracks, boy, would I ever love to be reconnected with those people. I don't think you keep going after people that aren't looking for something, but if you really want somebody and you think that they fit what you're looking for as a leader, don't give up on people, because when I didn't get that paycheck, my world changed and I was looking. So anyway, I signed up, and what was so funny is he brought me a sleep system to try.
Mm.
So I put it on my bed. The next morning, a client from my other company gave me a call, and I said, "Mimi, how you doing?" And she said, "I'm in so much pain. I can hardly move. I can't even get out of bed. My arthritis is killing me." I just, all these years later, remember that and how she said it to me. And I said, "Can I bring something over? Somebody gave me something yesterday. I just wanted to see maybe it would help you." Well, see, I was just curious. I was
Mm.
like, is this just a fluke that I felt better? Is this going to work? So without even asking him, I took his sleep system to her house. No comforter back then, just the pad and a pillow, and that were hard as a rock back then. Now they're like heaven, and put it on her bed. And I called her the next morning and said, "Mimi," and could hardly breathe. I was so nervous to ask her how she felt. And I think that fear stops us a lot from moving forward. And I said, "How do you feel?" And she said, "Wonderful. I got out of bed and I don't hurt. I want this. What do I have to do?" And I went, wow.
Yeah.
And that was almost 23 years ago. So it's been a great
Yeah.
journey.
For sure. And I think a lot of people listening in have similar stories, either with themselves or yeah, with customers, and that is why we why we are making these amazing products.
Well, I needed the money,
Yeah.
and I also, like really bad, but I needed the products. But I was so, I was just flat broke. I was married to someone else for 30 years. Through a tax law change, it tubed his business overnight. We had worked really hard. We had done extremely well because of my real estate. He was in commercial, I was in residential, and this tax law affected real estate. Wasn't anything we did, but overnight I had no home, no car. I had no bank account. I had no credit card. Wonderful. I loved, and ended up in real estate. And real estate was great. I did wonderful. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But I did it back in the days, before we had all the technology we have today. So, there weren't even answering machines. There was no cell phones. There were no computers. So everything was hands-on. And after 9 years, and the day I finally walked out and quit, I had 14 listings alone, let alone all the sales, and it just wore me down. I was the only one that did everything. I was back then in an office. There were other people, but we all did all the work. There was no team. Everybody was a competitor with the other person in the office.
Mm.
And so I moved across country from California to Georgia, and I just could not make myself go back into real estate. I would have had to get relicensed here, and just the stress. I had two small children when I started, and you were just constantly on call. It was like being a doctor on call 24/7. And it just, you never had your weekends. You felt guilty taking a vacation. And so when I got to Atlanta, I was introduced to a woman that was in network marketing. And it was skincare, makeup, it was beauty control, which is kind of a competitor to Mary Kay, if you know what that is over there in your countries. And um, I loved the concept, but I couldn't make enough money, even though the first year I earned a mink coat. I was number 7 out of 25,000. I still, um, I couldn't make the money. You know, you sell a tube of lipstick and, you know, you'd make 50 cents or some crazy thing, and I had to deliver everything, and nothing was drop shipped. It was only on my credit card, which back then I didn't even have one. I had to wire money, and it was so confusing. It was so difficult. But I loved having a team. I loved not having to do everything myself like I did in real estate. So then I joined another company, and they changed the comp plan and it went under. I joined another company. They changed the product and it went under. And I was like, I started reading everything I could get my hands on. And you know what, back then, that was 27 years ago when I started in network marketing, there wasn't hardly anything literature wise. There was no computer back then. So the thing is that all I could do was listen to a few audio tapes and books, but just that concept of not always being about me and being able to multiply my work ethic times other people and their work ethic, boy, I love that. And so I had some people from my previous company I was with who had tried the Nikon products when it came to Atlanta, and they had great results, and they ended up leaving that company. And for 8 months they kept coming after me. They wanted me on their team. You know, we all, when you're successful in any company, other people, they come after you. They want you on their team. They want you to leave. And I kept saying, no, 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 no. Well, then one day I didn't get my $6,000 paycheck from that company. And you know, 30 years ago, that's still great money, but that was really great money then.
Yep.
And I needed that money. I needed every penny of that money. I'd gone through a hard time, and he didn't pay me. So I ended up coming over to Nikon, and 2 weeks later that company went under.
Oh.
So yeah, and so I signed up, but the only reason I signed up is I was moving and packing boxes, and I was born with a back issue, and so I was having to lift and do everything, and that my back just doesn't like to do that. And I was hurting so bad one night. I called one of those four people that had been after me for 8 months, and I said, George, does that product really work? And you know what? This was 23, almost 24 years ago that I first heard about it. And back then they only had 10 products. They only had magnets. They had very little, but they had a back magnet. We now call it a flex, a mag flex. And he said, you know, I'm having really great results with people. And I said, would you come over and bring that and see if it'll help me? I'm hurting so bad I can hardly move. He brought it over instantly. Everything it just calmed. And I went, wow. And you know what? Before that, for those first 8 months, I wouldn't even try the product. I was so focused on my other company. I guess the lesson I would like to give people that are listening to this, I would love to go back to the thousands of people that I have prospected once and never went back again.
Mm.
If the timing wasn't right for them and I just walked away and kind of let them fall through the cracks, boy, would I ever love to be reconnected with those people. You know, I don't think you keep going after people that aren't looking for something, but if you really want somebody and you think that they fit what you're looking for as a leader, don't give up on people, because when I didn't get that paycheck, my world changed and I was looking. So anyway, I signed up, and what was so funny is he brought me a sleep system to try.
Mm.
So I put it on my bed. The next morning, a client from my other company gave me a call, and I said, "Mimi, how you doing?" And she said, "I'm in so much pain. I can hardly move. I can't even get out of bed. My arthritis is killing me." I just, all these years later, remember that and how she said it to me. And I said, "Can I bring something over? Somebody gave me something yesterday. I just wanted to see maybe it would help you." Well, see, I was just curious. I was
Mm.
like, is this just a fluke that I felt better? Is this going to work? So without even asking him, I took his sleep system to her house. No comforter back then, just the pad and a pillow, and that were hard as a rock back then. Now they're like heaven, and put it on her bed. And I called her the next morning and said, "Mimi," and could hardly breathe. I was so nervous to ask her how she felt. And I think that fear stops us a lot from moving forward. And I said, "How do you feel?" And she said, "Wonderful. I got out of bed and I don't hurt. I want this. What do I have to do?" And I went, "Wow."
Yeah.
And that was almost 23 years ago. So it's been a great journey.
For sure. And I think a lot of people listening in have similar stories, either with themselves or yeah, with customers, and that is why we why we are making these amazing products.
Well, I needed the money,
Yeah.
and like really bad, but I needed the products. But I was so, I was just flat broke. I was married to someone else for 30 years. Through a tax law change, it tubed his business overnight. We had worked really hard. We had done extremely well because of my real estate. He was in commercial, I was in residential, and this tax law affected real estate. Wasn't anything we did, but overnight I had no home, no car. I had no bank account. I had no credit card. I went from being worth millions, self-earned, from zero, self-earned to zero. And that's where I was when I heard about Niken. I actually took my rent money of 1,400. That's all I had in the world. My rent was due in 3 weeks, and I bought one of each product, the sleep pad and the seat and insoles and the Meg Duo we have now, we call it, and the back magnet and a couple of other things. And 4 days later, somebody broke the car window and stole it. So now I only had what we would call a Mag Duo and the insoles. And I built this whole business on 2 products in the beginning. That's all I had, and made enough to pay my rent that next month. The next full month made over 3,000, and just have never looked back. But I'm real short on people's excuses because I was in such a tight spot and started at such a difficult time in my life. A year later, I was single, left with nothing except my Niken business. So, it's been great because the beauty of Niken is no matter where you are, no matter what you've been through, physically, financially, personally, you can turn that all around because of the 5 pillars of the healthy mind, healthy body, healthy family, healthy society, healthy finances. That's what Niken is all about. And when you bring balance back into those areas of your life, then everything just starts to fall into place and life becomes a lot more fun.
For sure.
So, yeah, yeah, it's been great.
But like Janneke said, that among Nikan people, we often hear, "Oh, Sheri Clark, she's the queen of Nikan product or product knowledge." So is that the way you always enter, like when you talk to people? Is that finding their issue and leading with, "Okay, then I think I have a back flag," or Mac Duo or something like that, or how do you do it now today? We also talked about later
Well, there,
earlier we didn't have computers and all these things, but and we have a lot more products today
oh, it's
to
so different. It's wonderful. Yeah. The reason that I knew so much about the products is because during that time that I was listening and didn't join those 8 months, a lady rear-ended my car while I was sitting at a stop sign, and I had my head turned to look for traffic, and it gave me whiplash so bad, and that went into what later became the word, well, I don't even know if I should say the word, but an autoimmune condition that affects your muscles and your energy and your sleep, and life becomes miserable. And for 14 years, that is the way I was. So these products were just such a godsend to me. And the thing was that Nikon kept dropping down things. They went from the magnetics, then they dropped down the far infrared, the comforter. And my sleep got a little better. My discomfort got better. I mean, I could tell a difference just adding that into the topper that had the magnets. And then they added in the water, and that was huge. I hated water, and so I never drank water. And by drinking this water, because it tastes so awesome, oh my gosh, the brain fog, the 4 o'clock brain fog, the um, just your whole energy and the discomfort, your joints, everything calms down when you're hydrated. And then shortly after, they dropped in the air system. Well, we have been trying different air systems in the house, and what we didn't know is they were all putting off ozone. And I kept saying to Jack, we have a sick house. Something is wrong. It's toxic in here. When I walk into the house, I end up in bed 20 minutes later. And I just was miserable in this house. We had a second home in Florida. We didn't have a second air filter back then. And so when I would go there, I was fine. I'm like, there's something about this house. What was those other air filters that we thought were so good, and they weren't? And so the air filter was another huge product, putting off the negative ions. And then they started dropping in whole food nutrition. The first nutritional line they had were regular vitamins. I don't know if you've ever taken a vitamin that makes you kind of nauseous. It just wasn't pure enough for my body. It was a good vitamin for what they had back in those days, but what Nikon has now is it's organic food, and they have so many. And when they finally one day they came out with the Ciaga, and Ciaga is just a drink. It's made with fruit. It's high in antioxidants. It affects every part of your body, and the fiber, well, I'm not supposed to say the word of the condition. The condition I had, it went away. I woke up one day and it was just gone. 14 years. And what that taught me was that we are all, I know they use it now with autism, the puzzle thing, but that's the way I've always looked at my body, that if I brought this condition on somehow through my lifestyle, because I wasn't born with it, then I could undo it. If I fed my cells enough good things, I could back things off and I could turn it around. And that's really the beauty of Nikon and the whole wellness home, the total wellness home, is that, we have the daytime products. We have jewelry, beautiful jewelry. This beautiful necklace here. This is one of many products. There are over 100 now. And so you can put your jewelry on. You can put I have my bracelet and show up, but I just put it on another lady that's here that has MS and had balance issues. And we put it on her and gave her a glass of water and put the insoles in her shoes. And you should see the difference the way she's walking around my home. I just met her today. It's just awesome. So anyway, you've got your jewelry, you've got patches and wraps. That's all I call them. It's insoles, patches, wraps, jewelry, a seat, daytime products. Then you've got your nighttime, the topper for your bed, your comforter, your pillow. There's 4 technologies: magnetic, far infrared, negative ion, and chitosan, tourmaline, things that, make your bed just this wonderful environment that you want to go into. I used to call my bedroom my bed my war zone because I never slept over 3 hours a night for 25 years. And now I just like curl up in there and pull up that comforter and lay on that natural latex. Everything's so improved. And they can improve stuff all the time. They add in other technologies or they just make it better all the time. And anyway, and then you add in the air, the water, the light, the natural light, and the whole food nutrition. As they kept dropping that in, I got well. My body, my cells, to me, that's my cells going, thank you. It started to just balance out and work better. Your cells heal, your body heals. Nikken doesn't heal anything. The technologies don't heal. The man that is here right now, as he said, your body will take the energy it needs, and all of this is what the body's made of. It's all energy, and it'll take it in, and you take and use what it needs. If it doesn't need it, it's not like you're going to overdose on it. So I had to wait. People will say, well, why did it take you 14 years to be well? Well, I had to wait for things to be invented.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Somebody today, they have the whole wellness home right there.
Yeah.
They can surround themselves with it day and night and see what the body will do. And I think some people, they don't have the great results because they aren't willing to commit to the whole thing. I know financially I sure couldn't have in the beginning, but I ask them just to begin and then to add in as they can, just keep adding in until they do. But the nutrition is huge. I mean, everything plays a part in your sleep, in your discomfort, your energy, your balance. But that's how I learned about the products was I had such a huge need for it. Anyway, and to answer one more question you had, why did I become so knowledgeable about the products? I did lead with the products at first because I had zero money. I didn't even have a savings account. I had lost everything, not to my own doing. It was just, that tax law wiped us out. So when you have no credit card, you have no savings, you don't have a lot of choices in life, and you don't have any money. So what was I going to do? I had moved cross country from California to Georgia, and if I had met you, what was I going to say? Hey, Charlotta, I'd like you to join my business. Well, you would say to me, well, how have you done? How much money have you made? Well, I didn't even have money. If you had asked me to go to lunch and spend $5, I couldn't have. So, and I'm serious about that. So I would take people. I took a doctor to lunch one day to do a presentation and bought his, and I sat there and didn't have the money to buy mine. And he said, well, aren't you going to eat? And I said, you know what, I'm going to talk. I've already eaten. Well, I hadn't, but I didn't have the money to eat. There were tough times back then. But I had to lead with the product because I didn't feel like I could talk money because I was new to Nick and I hadn't made it yet and I didn't have a bank account. So now, here's what I would do today, hon. What I would do is that you need to lead with their need. And that means that you ask questions. And that's part of the prospecting part, the very beginning, is that you ask people questions. Charlotta, hey, how's things going? What's going on in your life? If I knew you and hadn't seen you in a while, where are you working? How do you like it? Is it fun? And how's the kids or how's your parents? You ask questions, and the main thing about prospecting is listening. And if you're telling me that you don't sleep or that you have an autistic child or that your parents, something's going on with them, then I would lead with the product. If you're telling me that your husband was just downsized, or that you hate your job, or that you've got 3 jobs because you don't make enough money to support the family, then I'm going to lead with the business. But I would always, if I lead with the business is the products. This is the back. Whoop, everything's opposite. This is the
Yeah.
back made. Look at how huge that looks. It's really not that big. And anyway, you would take and I put products on people. I sit them down. That's what I did this couple that's here right now. I sat her on a seat. She has a serious autoimmune condition, has had it for a long time, came in with a cane, could hardly put one foot in front. He had to hold her up walking in the door, and I sat her on a seat. I waited about 5 minutes. I wanted to make sure there wasn't going to be any like detox or problem. I didn't know a lot about her. You want to make sure they don't have a pacemaker. And then I put some insoles in her shoes. And I just looked at her, and I didn't ask her a lot of questions up front. I knew she had this condition, but I just wanted to go kind of slow and let her tell me. And so pretty soon, after about 10 minutes, I said, "Can you tell anything with the insoles or the seat?" She said, "Well, my feet don't hurt anymore." I said, "Really? I didn't know your feet hurt." She said, "My feet hurt really bad, but they don't hurt anymore." So then after about 15 minutes, I stood her up and I said, "Could I take the insoles off out of your shoes again? And I would like to do a strength and balance test with the water because she could not stand up on her own." And so I could see the panic in her eyes, because she can't stand on her own. And I said, I had her husband stand there by her, and I kind of gripped her hands in between mine, and I put her arms out, and I gave her a sip of, well, first I tested her without the water, and she was so weak that I could have blown her over. And then I just said, "Take one sip of the water," because she never drinks water. She hates water. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's so me. And she took one sip and put her arms out, and she was like a rock. She just locked in. And so when she got up to go to the restroom just a few minutes ago, she just hooked it right in there, and he didn't even have to hang on to her. And she had the insoles in, she had a necklace on and a bracelet on, and she'd been drinking the water. And it was like, wow.
Exactly.
She hasn't even slept on it. She'd
No.
been on it just while she was sitting here. So,
So how do you go from like, now you put a few products on her, and I know that we talked before, you talked about that every little product have some benefits, but it's also like a bandage. You're putting something on. You love to talk about the whole concept. So now
right.
you like putting a little bit here and a little bit there. How do you like then go to let her know the whole concept so that you don't, because what I feel and what I hear is like, then you get people to try this and this, and then the next time you add something, and then you become this salesperson that you don't want to be, and people stop trusting you because, okay, what will you bring next time, instead of having like the bigger picture from the beginning. I know you.
Well, what I try to do is what I put on her, other than I use the dressier jewelry, and I don't know why I did that other than I had it on this level of the house. And when I met her and saw she couldn't go downstairs to the terrace level where the showroom is, and the showroom is simply an armoire that I can close the products away, or I can open it up and I can have a display. And so when I saw she couldn't do the stairs, I happen to have the dressier jewelry up here. It's mine. I didn't have the power bands up here. The power bands would come in the Vital Day pack. So what I do is we help design the Vital Day pack based on, do you have that over there?
Yep.
Okay, so it is based on the most powerful technologies that give the most instant results. If you do another company, it's just a drink or it's a vitamin, it's something that takes time usually, to react. Um, this is so instant with the strength and balance. Plus, she drank the water. Plus, we made her a shake, one of the Vital Balance shakes. So she's already experienced the things that are in the Vital Day Pack.
Mm.
And so I work out of a Vital Day Pack. They have already committed to buying the Vital Day Pack. Okay, so because that's what I did. So you sell what you can of the smaller stuff. If if you are if they hadn't, the way I did the pack, and I actually did that over the phone before they ever saw a product. And what and I already have it here because they were traveling. We had it shipped here, and so they're all ready to take it home. And the new we have a new energy thing here. I guess you won't have it there yet for a while. But anyway, um, what I do is if I'm sticking to the products and talking about the products that are in the pack, then I will write those down with the price next to it of products. Maybe they say, well, I'll take the insoles and I'll take a power band necklace and maybe the water bottle. I did that the other day to a lady that walked in here to do some landscaping for me, and she went out the door and said, I want this, this, and this. And I said, okay. So you sell what you can, but then when you're writing down what out of that pack, you can show them, here's a pack that you can get for, well, 500 points in America. And you're going to get a lot free because it's deeply discounted. So if you bought just this, 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 and this, it might come to 374 points, but when the pack, you're going to get a lot more product, and most of it you're not going to have to pay for. And so almost always they will buy the pack because it's discounted,
Mm.
right? And they'll do the sign up in America. It's $60, and they can sign up, and so they can buy a number of different ways. So the business side of it, though, I always talk about the business. Her husband, they used to do network marketing. They had stepped away from the company. There was a change in the product, and they left, and they loved it. It is who they are. And so it's a matter of they were looking, and they wanted back in the business. So now they've already got a product experience. We're going to send the sleep system home with them. You sell what you can, loan what you can't. I do not loan the wraps. I do not loan the insoles. I do not loan things that can get ruined and nasty and dirty. I don't do it. They can make a decision. They're not that much money. So they can sit in your home or you in theirs or in a coffee shop or something, and they can try it while they're sitting there. You can do the strength and balance test, and then loan. If you have the loaner sleep system, the demo pack, then they can try that and see what they think. But anyway, we've been sitting here talking the business this afternoon since they got here. And while we were talking the business, she was on the products having an experience. So bottom line is, Charlotta, there's no business without the products because you only make money when product sells,
Yeah,
right? So if you're selling retail, great. That's the biggest income there is retail.
that's true.
So the products are the business, but the business is also the products. So you always, even if they walk in and they say, somebody told me to come and get a pair of insoles, I've got some numb feet from a condition I have, I need the insoles, great, buy. Well, great, sell at retail. But if somebody is willing to sit and have a conversation and you're hearing that they need some income, that things aren't just rosy in their life, then you're going to want to do a little bit on both sides. I am not somebody, I'm the heart person. I'm not the person that throws a business down somebody's throat. and comes at somebody with the business first before I ever find out about them, because I think people get real turned off with people in network marketing, sales, business, when you're coming at somebody too strongly.
Mm.
If you really like somebody, say, I've got a new business and I would love to have you on my team. I love the way that you interact. Nobody's a stranger to you. You get along with people. You speak to everybody. I really could use a partner in my business. I have, and then you talk about your qualities and say, you know what, together, we're just we could do so well. Could I take 20, 30 minutes and show you?
Yeah.
So there's different ways to come at it, but you want to make sure you do the whole package. Dennis Estes, DENNIS, ESTES.com. He has a website. He's a raw diamond. He's always one of the top 5 income earners in the world. He's just a techie where he has scripts on what to say on his website. You can also get to him through theroyalalliance.com, TheRoyalalliance.com, and there will be links to his website and the other leaders. That site, theroyalalliance.com, was created so you could go there, and from there it would take you other places that would all teach the same thing. But Dennis has great on his under training. He has prospecting versus recruiting. Changed my business. Absolutely changed my business. Because sometimes you're meeting somebody for the first time and you're talking product, or I want you in my business, da 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 da, and people are just throwing up their hands and go, whoa, bye, and they're gone, right?
Yep.
And what Dennis taught was this prospecting is when you're asking questions and listening. Recruiting is when they finally say, yes, I would like to know more.
Mm.
Then you either continue if you both have time, or you set an appointment, and that's when you do the presentation. The recruiting is the presentation.
Yeah.
The prospecting is just learning about them, so you know, how do I do the presentation? Do I do business first and then product, or do I do product and then the business?
Yeah.
And
Lead
then you
with
got to
that.
ask for the order.
Yeah. Yeah, because when we talked earlier, you said that you talked to some people and you actually got a little like horrified about, okay, how many presentation people can do without even making one sale. And I know that from myself, and also people I talk to. Is like, yeah, we can talk and we know the technologies and things like that, but then, like you also said in the beginning, then we're like, now I come to the scary part. I actually need to figure out where they at.
Right.
And I think a lot of us could learn from your benefits. You said that you should be able to close around 80% of who you talk to, and
Oh, I think at least in Nikon, there's so many things now that they can do, the environment, daytime, nighttime, the nutrition. There's so many choices that most people will buy something. Okay.
So, but how do we do that then?
How do you ask for that order? That scary
Yeah,
thing?
that scary thing.
All
how
right.
do
You never ask a question that can be answered with a yes or a no. Do you want to buy this, Charlotta?
No.
That's a word I don't want to hear.
Exactly.
So what you ask is, would you like to pay with a check or credit card? Okay? And boy, I learned that is just, it's a great close. I learned that before I came to Nikon, that, that, yes, Jack? Sorry. Okay. I hated asking for that order. I had such fear of rejection. First of all, my children weren't going to, if I didn't make $5 or $10. That's how bad it was around my house 27 or 23 years ago. It was just awful for a few years. And so I didn't want to hear no. And so I would listen to professionals talk about how to close a sale. And that's the one thing that I learned was that you give people choices. It's like if children come home from school and they want to go right outside and play with their friends. Well, they really need to do their homework first because it's really hard to get them to come in and then they're tired and then they don't want to do their homework and then they don't get to bed on time and then they're cranky and then they don't do it. Sorry. So I learned that, we're no different than children. So the key is to ask questions and give people choices. If we were going to have an appointment, it would be, Charlotta, is daytime or nighttime better for you
Yeah.
when we get together? Okay, nighttime. 7:30? When are the kids in bed or whatever? 7.
Yeah.
Okay. And and so it's no difference on the back end. I've really learned as I get older, I value my energy more, and I've learned that I don't want to put out front my energy during a presentation if I'm not going to ask for the order, because there's no income during the presentation. There's only income when the sale is made. And so you can't just keep loaning product or selling at wholesale unless it's to immediate family or people that you love, but I've had so many people over these 23 years, they just like give stuff away or they're so afraid of asking for people to pay for it. Well, gosh, nobody else does that in any other industry. Why are we doing that, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, would you like to pay by check or credit card? Oh my gosh, that was such an easy close for me when I learned that. Visa, MasterCard.
Yeah.
Do you take American Express? Absolutely. Do you see how that was so painless?
Yeah.
Because that's what they'll say, If you don't, Lincoln takes them all. So it makes it so nice. And the other way that I close people, let's say I've been sitting here with you, we've been talking product, we've talked a little bit about the business, and what I'll say is, and I say this at the end of a wellness preview or an in-home with a group of people also, I'll just say you have 5 choices. One is to do nothing. And that first, that sounds like, wow. But I read it in a book on network marketing 20 some years ago, that if you say the objection before they do, it's like he said, putting a pin back in the hand grenade so it won't go off.
Mm.
So if you say first they don't have to do anything, because how many people have you done a presentation for and they go, I think I'll just think about it.
Exactly.
Ah.
Yeah.
Then you got to get back together again, and we live in a city of 6 million people, 6.5 million. It's a lot of driving. I'm like, really? Like, can we just do this now? And so you really want to diffuse I'm not going to do anything now. So I'm going to give them more choices. So you have 5 choices, Charlotte.
Mm.
One is to do nothing. One is you can be a retail customer, and that's great. You'll enjoy the products. And then I wait a second because they're thinking. You can see them thinking. The other is that for $60 in America, again, I don't know what yours is around the world, whoever's listening, but whatever the cost is to go in as a wholesale buyer or do the business, for $60, you can choose to be a wholesale customer. And in this country, we have things like Costco, Sam's Club, discount buyers club stores around town. Do you have that over there where you can pay a fee and get things at a discount in these stores?
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever the name of yours is in your countries, then I tell them that's like going to Costco or Sam's Club. Well, in America, everybody knows what those are, and then you can just be a wholesale customer. And you can save 20%. You can get even deeper discounts on packs and stuff. And they're thinking, you can see them go, oh, right? And the fourth thing is, because you've already put your name in there, you know, you're probably going to have friends or family, people you love and care about that are going to have issues, and you're welcome to sell to them. You can wholesale it, retail it, because that's $60. You started your own company basically, so you could buy wholesale, and you can sell to them however you want, but you also can sell to other people, and you can make $100, $200, $300 a month. You can make a little bit of an income. I said, and make a car payment.
Mm.
But I said, and the fifth choice is that you can choose to treat it like a career, which is what I've chosen to do. And your job would be to team with me, and I would help you, I would train you, and we'd team up, go have a great time, and go see people you know, and we can build a great career for you, whatever it is that you would like to create with Niken. Which one would you like?
Mm.
And they will choose one. And it almost never is, I'm not going to do anything. It's just interesting how that just, it's so non-threatening, you
Because now
know,
it's
and
an option.
it's just choices.
Yeah.
And they'll sit there. And one lady left the other day, the landscape lady. She never did do my landscape design. We worked on her for 2 hours. She has a lot of issues. She's only 51. But I said, I don't loan the insoles. I don't loan the water bottle. She wanted some of the stuff I don't loan, and I said, so you would need to buy those. And I said, would you like to do retail, or would you like to do the $60 and buy wholesale? And she was like, oh, I don't know. Well, because she took the sleep system home, and I jugged some of the water for her to take. She really needed, she bought the bottle, but I still jugged some for, because she has kids at home and a husband. And I mean, I just said to her, you know what, when you come back, we'll make that decision. Sometimes I've sold retail, and
Yeah.
when they come back, I go ahead and give them a credit of the difference in wholesale retail and give it to them as a discount on something else. I just work with them, you
Mm.
know? But you'll make a sale. I mean, I don't know why you've had so many people come through and you haven't closed it, but I think there's a lady listening right now. She said she was going to be on today, and she had a hard time closing, and she called a week ago after I trained in our call about the 5 closes, and so she said, well, I'm meeting with somebody afterwards. Can you do a three-way? They want to buy a knee wrap, and she lives across the whole country, clear the other side. And I said, you know, you really don't need me. Just do the 5 closes. You're going to be fine. She called me later. I did it. It worked. And she sold the product, and so it was a good breakthrough. So I
Yeah.
think everybody can do that, you know?
Yeah, and what I said before, it sounds simple, and it is. Sometimes I think we overthink it, and yeah, the fear gets in the way. We don't want the rejection of, oh, what if, yeah, the money, or if they say no, we probably feel that it's to us, and and it's not. But what we always also ask, because I think there's a difference, not that men is better at rejection than we are, but still, I think there's a difference between men and women. So if you should give us women like one good advice for closing and building and selling a little bit more, what would that be?
Um, get really good at your career. Don't treat Nikan like it's not a career. I hear people say all the time, well, I need to go get a job. They'll sign up in Nikan, but they're going to go get a job. And to me, Nikan was my career.
Mm.
And if people, they're willing to go put 8, 10 hours into building somebody else's business, but not putting 8, 10, 12 hours into building their own. If you owned a restaurant, you'd be in there 12, 15 hours a day.
Exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
when you sign on the dotted line in NECAN, you are the president of your company. And to be able to do that for $60 in America, and you have your own company,
Mm.
but there are different aspects of NECAN. There's sales, there's management, there's marketing, there's the product knowledge. And granted, there's all those different aspects, but NECAN also doesn't get boring. Network marketing and with all of our amazing technologies, it never gets boring. It only gets boring when you quit.
Mm.
So don't just stay in, but stay in and get better. When I sold real estate, I took every class I could to be really good. I was number one 10 out of 12 months a year. I did that because I needed to do that. I guess part of that is me, but also on a personal level at that time in my life, I needed to bring in some income. And so I guess I've never we all have, for me, God-given talents, and if I'm going to use my talents, I'm going to use it to the best of my ability. So be great. Don't be mediocre. Be great.
Oh, yeah. And that is true. We always ask the same questions to all the great guests we have on, and it's about the pitch or what to say. And of course, I know you have been around that lead with their needs and things like that. But if I met you at, I don't know, at a bar, at a restaurant, somewhere we fell starting talking something, you I was the first one to ask you what you did. You didn't have any chance to figure out if I was a nurse or real estate or anything, or if I had a lower back issue or anything. When you were in real estate, it was easy for you to say, "Yeah, I'm in real estate. I work there and there, or I'm on my own." But what is your job title today? What will, if I asked you, what do you do? What is?
Well, I have never changed it. I keep it very simple. I have tried I'm with a Japanese company that's come over to America, and we have da 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 da. And you know what? That might work good for men, but I'm a little blue-eyed blonde, and it doesn't work for me. I can stand there and talk to a man and come out with that spiel, and they just look at me like whatever. I just say I help people that hurt physically and financially. And then I'm quiet. I'll tell you another thing I learned 30 years ago when I first got in network marketing. The first, and I learned it from Dale Carnegie, was that the first one to speak loses.
Oh,
So when I ask you a question, if I keep talking, I lose. Think about it as I've opened my front door and I've let you into my house. And if I keep talking, they've opened the back door and they've walked right out. I mean, it's like people don't know when to be quiet and listen. They just motor mouth all the time. And that's where asking questions and listening is way more important. The other thing today versus when I started, when you start giving your story, and granted, I went into more detail here because I tried to do some training while I was giving it. Hopefully people will understand that as I gave each aspect of that, it was because you'll come across things like that. Maybe you'll remember that part of the story. But people don't care about you for more than 2 minutes today. The
no.
world is a very